All right, I'd like to thank everybody for coming to the Planning and Zoning Wednesday, November 6th, 2024 Zoning and Planning Commission meeting. And we'll do a call of order. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next on the docket is roll.
Mr. Bobs. Mr. Browning.
Here.
Mr. Bush.
Here.
Mr. Mancino. Mr. Smiley.
Here.
Mr. Truex.
Here.
Ms. Rogers.
Okay, next on the docket is old business, and we have Transportation Corridor Overlay District Application TCOD-24-001. Do I hear a motion to remove that from table?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to remove application TCOD-24-001 from the table.
Second. Thank you. Okay, go to staff. Jack?
You gotta do the roll.
Oh, roll. All those in favor? Okay.
Mr.
Roll.
Truex.
Yes.
Ms. Rogers.
Yes.
Mr. Bush.
Yes.
Mr. Smiley.
Yes.
Mr. Browning.
Yes.
Okay, staff report, Jack?
Of course. So again, this is TCOD 24-001. We previously heard this in September. So a few things have changed. I'll try and be as brief as I can. So we are looking at a 0.32 acre section, the overall 5.44 acres here in Hazelwood Plaza. It's about 82 feet wide frontage here just to the east of the Donato store. The request is requesting approval of TCOD to develop that for Scooter's Drive-Through Coffee Shop. They did go get a conditional use from the Board of Zoning Appeals that was approved September 10th of this year. The structure itself, so everything that's outlined in red here is stuff that's changed from the previous proposal that you guys saw in September. So setbacks to the front are 53, 25 for the east side, 37 from the west side, 78 from the rear. The pavement setbacks are 21.11 from the front, about 10 feet on both sides, and just over 25 to the rear. The concrete walkway on the north and west sides of the proposed structure. So there's going to be a 14-foot wide U-shaped drive-through lane. It's one way entry on the west, exit on the east. No access directly to Broad Street. There's also going to be a 14-foot wide bypass lane just north of the proposed structure. The parking and loading is going to be one ADA accessible space on site. That's going to be open on the end so they can pull through instead of having to back out into the drive-through lane to get out. No other parking adjacent to the structure, however, it's shared with the adjacent parking that's also on the same property that's shared with Hazelwood Plaza. And there has been a pedestrian crosswalk added to that adjacent parking area. So if you look here, here's the revised site plan that was submitted by the applicant. So north will be over to your left here, west is on the bottom. So coming on the west side, you can continue around the drive-through window. There's your bypass lane there and the ADA accessible space here. Crosswalk to the adjacent parking spaces to the north. Landscaping, so on the south frontage on Broad Street, there's going to be L2 type screening along the developed area. No side or rear landscaping is required as it abuts similar uses. There's going to be one dumpster pad and enclosure on the north side of the proposed structure. That's going to be a 6-foot tall concrete block wall with a metal gate. And then the menu board and speaker post on the south side of the structure is going to be facing west. So if you look up here, this is the landscape plan that was submitted by the applicant. Again, north is off to the left. So you see the L2 type screening, which is that 3-foot tall continuous shrub screen with a tree every 30 feet. That's along the frontage of Broad Street there. Here's their site lighting plan they submitted. So this one north will be over to the right. And then signage, so there's gonna be one monument sign, 32 square feet in size, 10 feet in height. Two Scooters Coffee signs on the east and west faces of the building. Two logo signs that are gonna be on the north and south faces of the building. Directional entry exit signs at the north side entrances. And then four small little wall advertisement signs, three on the east side, one on the west side. So here's a look at the elevations that were submitted by the applicant. So this is the south and north faces of the building. And then this is the west side of the building, our ground sign there, and the east side. So as part of our review, staff offered the following comments. We did take that kind of comprehensive comment list that we drafted last time. We've gone through that. Anything that was addressed has been struck through. Anything new is in red in there. Kind of call a little of the major ones here. So as part of the TCAB approval, the Planning and Zoning Commission has the ability to approve with modification or deny certain aspects of the probable unit that do not meet Pataskala code strictly. Those being setbacks, buffer zones, and parking numbers. Couple things that will come into play relevant to that are 1291-0784 requires a 40-foot zone landscape to the L2 standard between the street right of way and any parking or loading area. The revised plan moved the south end of the drive-through loop to within 21 feet of the right of way, so currently doesn't meet code there, but again, because it's part of a TCOD, the commission can approve that as they see fit. And then sidewalks have to be provided along the frontage on Broad Street. That's an 8-foot wide path. They can do the fee in lieu if there's no connecting network that they can build a sidewalk that's going to connect to. In this case, there's no adjacent sidewalk, so it wouldn't really serve the purpose. So should do the fee in lieu in this case. A couple other items. So the L2 screen that they showed in the landscaping plan appears to interfere with the proposed location of the stormwater facility on Broad Street there on frontage. And then the proposed signage does require several variances, which they have applied for. That'll be going to the Board of Zoning Appeals next week. Most of our major comments were addressed. There are a few minor modifications that might be required on the plan, but again, all the major ones have been addressed as far as staff's concerned. City engineer stated the traffic impact study may be required based on trip generation for the project. Did not receive any comments from any other departments or agencies. Surrounding properties to the north, we've got general business, which is Hazelwood Plaza. East is also zone general business, but it's currently undeveloped. To the south, you have B1, which is actually in Harrison Township. That's the car dealership there. To the west is general business, which is currently Donato's. So should the Planning and Zoning Commission choose to approve the applicant's request, following conditions may be considered. 1, the applicant address all comments from planning and zoning staff and the city engineer. And 2, the applicant shall submit the construction plans application within 1 year of the date of approval. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Thank you, Jack. Do we have any questions? Frank, any questions to staff?
I noticed the bypass in there, was that an addition from since the last time? I
Yes.
don't remember seeing that there. And is that also why the landscape buffering was kind of shortened from that 21 feet instead of 40 feet?
Yeah, previously, they met that 40-foot requirement.
Yeah.
But with the bypass lane.
Maybe that's right, yeah. Okay, got it.
And
Not right now. Thank you.
all right.
No, I don't think I have any questions at the moment. So.
Thank you. I don't have any questions at the moment. Tim?
Just one question about the, you said the screening out there is in the way of that stormwater. Well, I'm assuming that's that little building beside Donato's or?
No, so right here on their plan, they have a proposed stormwater facility, this little oblong thing here. And then look at the landscaping plan. It's right on the edge of the pavement here. Kind of looks like it would be encroaching into that area where they propose that stormwater facility.
Can they make both happen?
It would, so if they get this approved, they do the construction plans, and to the point we look at their stormwater, make sure all their calculations are gonna work. Can't really know for sure until we know that.
Okay. Good.
Okay, next, is there anybody here from the applicant? Okay, when you come up, Lisa will swear you in.
I just read it all at the same time. Great. Do you swear or testimony about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God? Thank you.
State your name and address, please.
My name's Tammy Leonard, 2640 Carroll Southern Road, Carroll, Ohio, 43112. And I just wanted to address the board to say that in September, we heard everything that you had to say, and we took it very seriously. We understand that there were some concerns related to traffic circulation, to safety, and also in order to meet code. We went back to our engineer and redesigned the plan, and we have brought our engineer here today with us. And so if it would be okay with you, we'd like to take all of your comments that were in red one by one and just go through those and show you how we're able to address those this evening.
If you're going to speak, I will need your name.
Oh,
and
my
address.
name's Sean Leonard, 2640 Carroll Southern Road in Carroll, Ohio.
Thank you.
And my name's Eric Morf. I am at 618 Alexander Drive, St. Louis, Missouri, 63122. I'm the civil engineer on the project. Nice to see you all. If it is okay with you, I just wanted to go through Mr. Kunzman. He's been kind enough to give us the strike-through version and a couple of the red lines that are remaining. I just wanted to touch on so that he knows we already saw those and we're going to try to address those. And so you guys have some comfort level as well. One of the things that was left as a question was the height of the light fixtures. Those are going to be 15 feet from the ground to the bottom of the fixture for the pole lights that are out there that are shown on that plan. There was a small area, which I had a laser pointer, but right in the front of the building, there is a small white area that was left on the front side there, Jack, that you had identified where there wasn't any, where there wasn't any landscaping, north side of the building. We've added, and I already redrew it on the plans, but we added some shrubbery in there that was intended to be landscaping. It's just an oversight on my part that we didn't show landscaping there in front of the building. The stormwater basin that Mr. Kunzman brought up, that is what I drew on the plans for you guys. I haven't done the full stormwater calculations at this point, so I drew in an area what we're going to use. I redrew it on the plans to go around the landscaping. We would make it work with the landscaping wherever it needs. Those would kind of blend in together when we get to the final construction documents. We can make both of those work. That's not an issue for us. There was a question about the maximum lot occupancy. I brought a plan. I'm going to give it to Jack. If it's okay with you. I can provide it to everybody if they need to. I did a little exhibit showing that overall tract with ours on here. And just to show, as Jack noted, that it's a maximum of 85% occupation by principal and accessory buildings. Between the building and the new building we're proposing, we'll be at 17% occupancy. So well under the maximum that's required. But we do have that we can give to you guys if you need it for confirmation. You mentioned the sidewalks and the fee in lieu. I've added that to our site plan as a note that we'd be happy to add that note to our plan, that is what the preference would be. The mechanical units, there will be mechanical units, but they are on the roof. And do you have all those slides, Jack, with the elevations that she sent? I can pull the one out, but the mechanical units on the roof are hidden by the parapet walls. You cannot see them from the ground. And we have that shown on a couple of those elevations that you had pulled up for them. We've got the mechanical equipment drawn in the background. Yeah, so see keynote number 13 at the top in the middle, there's a hatched line back there. That's the mechanical unit. So you wouldn't see it behind the parapet wall. That's why it's shown sketched in there. The accessible parking space, I always show those bigger than they need to be. I have it 9 foot with a 9 foot space. I've already changed it to show an 11 foot wide space with a 7 foot wide aisle, which would meet the requirement that you guys were asking for. That was just an easy thing to restripe and show correctly. At that pedestrian crossing, there was a note to add pedestrian crossing signs. I've added that to our site plan too, so that as you approach the painted crosswalk, there would be a sign facing each direction that says pedestrian crossing ahead, so that drivers are alerted that there is a pedestrian crossing painted on the pavement ahead there. You had a question about the snap frame panels, but I think you already addressed that and showed that there's 4 of them and they are 6 square foot, which would be in compliance with the sign code. The freestanding sign, the monument sign that we're proposing, I did add a dimension. Jack noted that it's a 10-foot requirement, and I added the dimension. We are 12.93 feet from the right-of-way to the face of that monument sign that we're proposing there. And then the last one was, as you noted, the 40-foot vegetated zone. We would ask for your discretion on that. You are correct. You pointed out that got moved. I'm sorry, you did, Mr. Warren. You pointed out that got moved down because we were making space for the bypass lane that goes through there. So we ask for your consideration on that. And I'm happy to answer any technical questions you might have, or if you want to know anything about St. Louis Cardinals, I'm happy to answer those questions as well.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Don't go anywhere real quick.
Okay,
Just
all
make
right.
sure.
I'll stay up here.
See if anybody have any questions. Tim, do you have any questions for the applicant?
First, a comment. I appreciate the walkway on the north side there. Thank you. I appreciate you listening to concerns there. Was there any thought given, at least exploring finding an exit strategy for, I know we talked about last time, cars exiting the drive-through line in the case of emergency or something like that?
I think that with the size of this site, the bypass lane that we provided is probably the only spot that we can provide in there. What I would rely on in this particular case is that the scooters itself is a very rapid business. In the case of an emergency, no, I can't guarantee what's going to happen, but this is intended to be a 3-minute in and out through the drive-through lane. So we don't intend for anyone to be there for any long length of time. And we hope that by providing the bypass lane, that would provide someone who may accidentally turn in there an opportunity to get out without having to go through the entire drive-through lane.
Makes sense. From speaker to window, what's the car count stack?
I have that printed. There's a specific, I believe that they require, I think it's 80 feet. So that would be basically a car at the window and then 3 cars. And then the 5th car is at the menu board.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
It does, yes.
Okay.
I'm good, sir.
Okay, thank you. Alex?
Just thank y'all for taking it hard. Like you said, this is a substantially improved design, and thank you for that. That's all I have.
Dan?
Hello, thank you for your explanations that you've provided. I do have a couple questions. One of them is the stacking and the time for greet time to total lane time.
Mhm.
And I'm assuming that's for one person per car.
No, I don't believe that's for one order. I think that is the goal for how many other orders that they're bringing in. Now, there would be an exception if someone's coming in and picking up an order for the office, but I would assume that that would be called ahead. But no, I think that, I don't think that the 30 seconds and then the 3-minute wait time is necessarily limited to one order. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, we need to get it on record, the response, so if it's you or if it's you who wants to explain, if you have 4 adults in a car or a family of 4 in a car, and they're each ordering a drink, you're saying that's included in that estimated time?
In the average
4
estimated time,
drinks,
average.
are there, what else is on the menu? Is it food? Is it just coffee?
You want to answer that? I'll let the owners tell you that.
Thank you.
There are some food items that are prepared off-site. So they're ready to go, microwave very quickly, some of those items. And then, yes, the rest are coffee drinks, smoothies, or energy drinks.
Okay. I just really find it hard to believe that 4 hot drinks can be made in 3 minutes or less. I find that very hard to believe, but what do I know? I've never worked in a coffee shop. I've just been a customer. The other question I have maybe would not be for you, but for staff concerning if it's stacked out into, we had talked about a stop sign heading east and west. And if those are backed up waiting to get in line, and then you have cars coming in from, is that Coryless? Coming in from Coryless? If they have to go around, if they're don't want to wait at the stop sign, they're going around, they're cutting through the parking lot, and you have kind of madness going on, is what I envision. So did we talk about that? Is that in here? I'm not sure. I'm not quite understanding what the plan is for that. Or do we need a traffic study for that?
So are we talking
You
about
talking about coming in from the east side?
coming in from
East.
the parking lot?
Cut through.
All of it. Because of the, the entrance to it and the exit from it. And then if you have cars stacked that can't act, if it's backed up and people are waiting to get into the drive-through
Okay.
and they're waiting in the access lane, and if they have a stop sign or they don't have a stop sign, whatever, they're parked there waiting, coming both directions, east and west, and they're waiting to turn in. Now you have people that don't want to sit at that stop sign, and they're cutting through and going around in the parking lot, and it's just kind of a free for all to get through. I mean, this is what I experience when I'm over at Target in Reynoldsburg. They have at the Starbucks, but Starbucks has a longer wait line, their own parking lot. So, but there are trees and, concrete borders that delineate the traffic area from the parking lot. What we have is we don't have really a separation to kind of control traffic. I don't know. I'm concerned about that. So I think we need a traffic study for that.
So the traffic study would show the impacts on the public roads. So
And that's a
intersections
private
here
parking
and the
lot.
access to and from the public road. But since this isn't accessing from a public road, it's accessing from a private parking lot. I
Yeah.
don't think there's anything that we as the city could make them do.
But if
to
it
address that.
okay, so backing up onto Coryless,
Of course, this would be over here,
Mhm.
right,
So they're only accessing from the parking lot
Right.
right here.
yeah. But if they're coming in from Coryless, I just see a free for all here. That's what I see. I see a free for all with traffic. I'm just concerned about safety because people will just be trying to get out of that. That's my concern. So one of them.
Valid.
I don't know if there's a way to mitigate that at all but I don't know that we can require that.
So is it, for my own clarification, so the concern is someone's at the drive-through window and there's gonna be so many people that it's gonna back out onto the,
Right.
so,
In rush hour.
Ian, can I help you here, please?
Yeah.
Panda Express down there in front of Myers or Target or whatever it is. This happens almost every night, what she's talking about. There's cars behind there trying to get in and out of there, and it stacks them back. And actually, it interrupts the entrances even coming into the plaza. So on either side, Corliss or that little thoroughway on the other side of Donato's potentially
Oh,
could be
right.
impacted. I think that's what she's going after.
Okay, so the concern is, so looking at this, if it's 5 cars from menu board to drive-through window, so there's 5, Mr. Stackett.
Then there's 5 more before it goes out onto the drive lane, so that's 10,
Yeah, so that was my
Correct.
quick estimation that there's gonna be 10.
right?
And then if people, I mean, arguably the average order, there's 3 minutes. I mean, is it possible that they could stack out into the parking lot? I think that's possible. But I don't think it's going to stack out to the point that we're on the core list. I mean, that's.
No, and not necessarily stacking there. But if we have a stop sign there, you know, and then somebody doesn't want to get behind someone at a stop waiting, you know, then they just cut into the parking lot and go around. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think she's talking about if they're actually out in the road to the parking lot area and they're waiting to turn into the drive-through because it has stacked up until Fulton. Then now somebody's driving through to go over to say the grocery store,
To Donato's.
and then they're like, I don't want to sit here and wait for this car to pull into the business, and so then they pull around and pull across the parking lot to get out of the way. I think is the concern that she's expressing here.
So we have no way to regulate, because it's not a public thoroughfare, we don't have the ability to regulate private parking lots. We can do that to some level, but in terms of if I'm stacked out here and I'm waiting to turn in, and I say, forget it, there's, you know, it just becomes a traffic issue that they need to make sure that if they're taking a left, they can drive through the parking lot. We have no way, as if it were a public roadway, to prohibit that.
Is our plan to require stop signs there? Well, heading east and west for the purpose of the sidewalk, the crosswalk?
There won't be stop signs, but there will be like a pedestrian crossing sign there.
And Ms. Rogers, I have added, can you flip back to my site plan? At the top left corner, that there's a sign right at the property line, right there. We've added that as kind of trying to address your concern. That is intended to be a do not block driveway sign right there, so that to tell them, do not block this driveway, kind of like what you would do at a railroad crossing or something like that. And then I would also, do you want to talk about as an option?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We have, they thought about this too. If we were to get in a situation where there was a ton of cars waiting, you want to tell them? what your
Yeah,
thoughts are?
and so oftentimes what scooters will do is line bus, so they go out to the menu board and your employees, and they'll take the order there, and then it scoots them along a little faster to the actual window to pick up
Like
their
a
order.
Chick-fil-A?
Similar to Chick-fil-A, correct. Where we can move the line faster in times of heavy traffic to try to address your concern and keep that from happening, because that behooves you to keep that from happening as well.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
That's all. Brian.
Frank?
I got a question for you and then for the applicant.
Okay.
So question for you, can you walk me through a little bit more about that, the stormwater, kind of what your thoughts are regarding the stormwater? Are you hoping that you have enough that you don't need to put any buffering there or any additional stormwater capacity, or what's going through?
It's such a small site and we're adding so little impervious area. We're only responsible, we would only be responsible under code for what we had.
Right.
And I do not think it's going to take, I was guesstimating the area just based off experience and rule of thumb, the size that we're gonna need. But I think it'll probably end up being a small, dry detention basin, let's call it. We really are only providing water quality is probably the biggest piece of this.
Okay.
So it'll just flow in there and go, and we'll kind of massage it into the landscaping. So we'll let the water kind of come off that edge, and whether we collect it and drop it in there, or we let it run over like a grass swale to help it out, get rid of some of the stuff. We'll let it go into there and then dump into the adjacent ditch next to it after it goes through our pond. So
Okay.
that's what I'm thinking is what we're gonna need. Worst case, if we can't find anything to fit at the surface, we could do some sort of an underground treatment chamber if it came to that we could make it fit and fit that in the landscaping. But I had my landscape architect pull that stuff up against the driveway so that we would have more room out in the front to do the stormwater management as
Okay.
necessary.
Got it. All right. And then for the applicant, there was some discussion too about trying to find a time that would work for trash pickup and things like that. Has that been, have you guys made that call where you would arrange it so it's kind of off hours?
So actually, Tolson Enterprise, who owns the whole parcel, have given us spaces allotted for our trucks.
But
Okay.
he's talking about trash pickup.
Well,
Oh.
Eric changed it, so,
Well, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
where the provider said they could arrange times.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Off hours for us. And he designed for the gates to swing open where it wouldn't impede a drive-through or the access road.
but we would have those spaces
Mhm.
so that anyone could park there too, out in front.
And since you have the pedestrian walkway, that makes sense, because then they would be able to.
Yes.
I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all for me. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Couple questions. Have you talked to, had any discussion with the parking lot owners as to what, because you're gonna have traffic coming from both sides, I assume, from the right in, right out, and then also from Corliss, as Ann is saying. How are you going to direct that flow? Because if what I'm seeing, if someone's kind of come this way and someone cuts in, then all of a sudden people can't get out either. If I'm looking at that correctly.
Well, that's where Eric put the sign of not blocking the drive.
We've tried to address all of.
It's
I know.
Yeah.
No, I
hard to
understand.
foolproof
I
it
understand.
because even if you put a no left turn sign, somebody's going to turn left,
Mhm.
right? So, but I think we've tried to make a concerted effort to try to put the warning signs out there for them.
And I do appreciate that. Have you talked to,
Yes.
because I understand what Ann is saying, and
Yes.
I know that your establishment, Scooters does operate a little bit quicker than Starbucks, but we also know sometimes with employees and that, they slow down a little bit more
Yeah.
as to would they put in a lane to keep, because Ann's point is very strong. If people are coming in, we always try to keep the traffic away from everybody speeding down the storefronts, that's there. And that's always been the area where that's the buffer. They come through that area. And I understand that area is there for you guys. But have they talked to them about putting in a lane so that then traffic can go by to get to the other establishments?
They have not talked about doing that. They have seen all of our schematics. They have not said that they have a concern because the parcel is so large and our site is small and the speed of what we do, they don't have a concern with that. In fact, they have mentioned that there's just so much parking lot unused.
It's unused, but it's marked so people won't drive into the parking lot or cars. Second of all, your hours. What are your hours?
So 5:30 to 8:30.
5:30 to 8:30.
38, so.
Because if it's on a weekend and the other establishments start filling up because they have sports, TVs and everything, that parking lot gets full. That's my only concern, is if he doesn't give you guys a lane for
Right.
people,
Or
just
peak
something to think
hours.
about. I understand that's not something that we can control. It's something you may want to look at going forward.
Sure. But in cases like that, our peak hours are totally different than what their peak hours are, as far as coffee goes.
Absolutely. Well, sometimes they get there off early in the
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
morning. Tim, I know you had another question, please.
Yeah, piggybacking on the parking space back there, I know a lot of the other tenants have some dedicated parking there, the bicycle shop, the Little Caesars. I'm assuming you're probably gonna partner with some of the online DoorDash, Uber Eats, things like that.
No, so it's.
This is gonna be strictly,
It's, yeah, strictly a drive-through coffee business.
okay, is that something ever that you think you'll pursue in the future?
I don't believe so.
Okay. I'll leave it at that then, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions for the applicant before we deliberate? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate your consideration.
Okay. In deliberation and discussion. Anything anybody wants to talk about, or are we ready?
Well, I just see a lot that still needs to be addressed, or concerns about. And the signage is a lot, but that's not under our control, but that's a lot of signage. I think they could address most of the problems, but, so they got their variance for them, did they already get their variance for the number of signs?
They got a conditional use to allow for the drive-through, and then on Tuesday, it'll be a variance for the width of the building and the number of signs, the sign variance on Tuesday.
I have a lot of concerns about the parking lot. You know, I just think about safety issue in the parking lot, with not just cars, but people. And, you know, like I think about, like I said, I keep going back to that parking lot over in Reynoldsburg at Starbucks and Target. They have, if you're exiting this, right, or entering, there's nothing across that area in the parking lot. There's nothing there. You can just come straight through, right? I mean,
You're talking about the one where
there's
they go
no-
along the backside of the building, that Starbucks on Broad?
I'm talking, at this one here, at this parking lot, there's nothing in front of you when you're exiting. You can go straight this way, you know, you can go this way, you can go this way in the street, you know, in the access drive. But at the one in the Target parking lot at the Starbucks, of course, they have their own parking lot, but there are also those concrete, I don't know what they're called, medians where you have trees and you have concrete going around them. It kind of just keeps the traffic. If you do go through the parking lot, it pushes you that way to kind of control where the cars can go. It either encourages you to stay and wait for the stop sign, or, okay, I'm going to Target, I'm going to go that way, you know, rather than just, there's no speed bump. We talked about speed bumps maybe to put there. I mean, something to make people slow down, pay attention, and consider what's going on here. Because they don't have their own dedicated parking area. It's just a drive-through. So I have concerns about general traffic. And I don't know. I could be completely wrong, but
I think it's a valid question. My question to staff is, can we control the parking lot since it is a private parking lot?
And already previously built.
Hmm.
And already previously constructed as well.
So in our code,
Yes.
we can specify you have to provide X amount of spaces for the use that you provide the parking for, how big those spaces are, and how far between those spaces for maneuvering. As far as the actual traffic flow goes, if it's, 20 feet between spaces, that's enough for two-way traffic. So
The spaces that they have to provide, do they have to be dedicated, or is it just free for all in that big parking lot?
This is a unique situation. You have to have adequate parking on site. So because this whole yellow area is the site, they have adequate parking.
They have adequate
So
parking.
they check that box in the code.
Makes sense.
So there could be the requirement, because it is Tolson's parking lot, to add landscape islands at the edge. At the edges you pull out, that can be required, because that whole parking lot's still in play. Because we're revisiting it, because it's part of the larger area. So if it's, as we exit, take up a space and put a landscape island there. It's still in play because that's the parking lot.
So we could make a modification for that to require that.
But it would only be for the yellow subsection of the overall lot. It would not be for because obviously there's a chunk of the lot there that is not part of the yellow lot on both sides that would not then be in play,
Can you zoom
correct?
that in?
Right, I can't unfortunately, but yeah, so we're looking at the yellow. So looking at it from this perspective, it just looks like it encompasses
Brighter over there.
the drive aisle.
But it looks like that the yellow crosswalk that they're proposing dumps out into the parking lot that's not part of the yellow line.
It goes to the edge of it, I would say, and then
Well, it
the
kind
parking
of,
lot's on
if
the
you're
other
looking at
side.
that map, it kind of heads, what would it be, north, east on there, out of the drive lane.
I believe you are correct. However, I think that's kind of the point though, is that they're saying like there's adequate parking for all of the businesses
Mhm.
there. But at the end of the day, for as far as alterations go to the end caps of the parking lot, the only place we could make modifications would be for that one little tiny subsection in the middle. We couldn't actually address anything on the left or the right of that yellow subsection. And so therefore, it would be open parking lot all the way to about the halfway point, and then there would suddenly be these islands that really aren't even probably included in the yellow subsection. If you look, you can't see it obviously because it's too small, but I would bet just looking at this that yellow line actually stops right where the parking spots start. So it actually be the road section would be only in play, not even the parking directly across from the lot.
Yes, we're looking at the yellow area.
Yeah, well, I mean, like the parking lot itself, though, where the parking spaces start, is actually at the yellow line and beyond.
Mhm.
It's only that road section that's right there at the lot that's in.
Is what's in.
Yeah, right. So we wouldn't be able to change the end caps for the area directly across from the site.
Only up to it.
Not even like at Donato's basically.
Yes. Yes.
We could require speed bumps.
Oregon, that's a tricky one. There's nothing in the code that says we can mandate speed bumps in a private parking lot.
Stop signs.
We
There
can
is a
add,
stop sign
we can
at
add
the
stop
right in, right
signs.
out.
So someone comes up and stops, and someone comes up and stops, so it'd be a three-way stop.
What about across on the other side of the parking lot? Face like on the north side, coming, yeah, so if they're driving straight
That's outside of our.
south,
Yeah, we have
into,
to stay in the yellow.
I mean, you could put a sign on the yellow. I'm just thinking,
Well,
They
I was
took that
thinking
sign
logistically, I
out.
don't know that would work the way you would want it to anyway, because even putting it on the one side and then the other side of the lot, that's a really big gap in between there that wouldn't necessarily work as like a travel space. That'd be almost like 2 or 3 car lengths worth of space to drive through just a stop sign.
At the right in, right out, they used to have a stop sign, but it became a hazard because it was just in the middle of a parking lot. And it became a hazard, so they took it out. They used to paint stop
oh, yeah,
on each
Right,
side,
okay.
plus, it was always straight through coming from the stores leaving. But there should be a stop sign where you come in, and there used to be a stop on each side of I guess it'd be the east and west of the right in, right out. But those are very faint, if even there anymore.
How would you feel about stop signs just on each side of the painted crosswalk going across there? I know you'll see that like at Kroger right in front of it. We'll have stops just as a stop break for traffic to, hey, is anybody coming?
they have speed bumps.
Yes, I do.
The only problem with that, and I like the idea, is then we're outside the yellow line requiring the owners of the parking lot to put the stop signs in, because if you put it on the roadside and cars are parked there, it's gonna be hard to see.
How far is that yellow line north of the building? Is that literally
It's the edge of the road. If you look in the documents we got, you can see, I believe this is actually, there's a faint line here that indicates, I think that's the squaring up of that yellow line. And it shows that this is the actual roadway, and that where the parking lot begins, that's where the yellow line is.
I'm just thinking employees coming and going to work, and especially as we go into winter and it's 7 o'clock and we still haven't reached daylight yet. And
You're not wrong.
I think Ann said something the last time, somebody's in a hurry, they're late for work, they, jerk around somebody else there, and next thing you know, an employee's laying on the ground.
If I could ask a question to the applicants again, you're gonna have, you've already talked about having that marked off and yield, or what's going to be put on that crosswalk?
Currently, I just have a typical, I'd have to find one, but pedestrian crossing sign in addition to the crosswalk. That would be striped
And
across.
that is going to be on the south side of of the drive.
I'm showing it on the north side of the drive.
So you're saying putting it into
Into that, I'm showing, as far as if you're traveling to the east, or I'm sorry, if you're traveling west and our site would be on your left, I would put the sign on the right-hand side.
So you're going to put it on the right-hand
In that
side.
island there is what we're going to propose.
Can we mandate a stop sign there, Scott?
You can, if you want to add it, stop pedestrian crossing, if you think we could add it. The
We
other
could
thing is
add it?
private parking lot.
I know,
so
that's what I'm
The
asking.
stop sign is unenforceable by the police.
Right,
So you could arguably add it, stop pedestrian crossing.
stop pedestrian just to cover.
If that would give you guys some comfort, I think we would be more than willing to put a stop sign there, right before our exit that comes out, put a stop sign and a stop bar right there before you get to where people are coming out, so people would pause. And also leave the crosswalk and the pedestrian sign as well. We'd be more than happy to make that a condition of approval if you would be willing to consider that.
What do you think, Ann?
I mean,
You
it's
put
better
your
than
stop sign
nothing.
there.
I know you have your plan, but how lighted is that area north of into the parking lot there? I mean, if you can't see those,
I don't know how many lights are through there. but
I
can't
see the
remember.
plan for their building, but
Right.
Let's see if I can find an area.
Is there a light? Is there a light?
I don't know if there's light. That's what I'm just gonna try to see, get an aerial.
I was gonna say, this is the color on this particular here.
Yeah, there is a pole mounted site light that would be in front of the building, in front of the accessible space. If you
In
can flip to that.
the parking lot or on the,
It's in our parking lot.
It's on your
but
parking lot.
It's aimed out to, it's really providing lighting for the turnaround or for the bypass lane, but I would,
There's also a pole light array.
yeah, and there is a pole light in that median.
okay, so
across
there
from
is
us
one
as
in the
well,
median.
yes.
good.
Thank you.
Exists.
Thank you very much. So do we want to add the condition for a stop sign? What's the thoughts with?
I am a little bit concerned about the stop sign right there though, because they'd have to put it before the turnout too though, because otherwise they're gonna stop right at the exit point of the drive-through at the crosswalk.
And
So
then
you
you've got the
pitch that-
turnout,
Yeah.
and then you're stopping right in front of it.
Well, hold on, but I guess that is a turn right only though, right?
We could make it a right turn only. It's not signed as such.
Okay.
I mean, we could put a right turn only there if that was.
Well,
the-
then
the
they're
wish.
going like this and then they're cutting through and then they're
Okay.
I don't know. I just,
Yeah,
I just think the whole thing.
That's what I was suggesting, Mr. McConnell, yes, was the stop sign would be before that, so you wouldn't have people stopping right in front of our exit. It would be
Okay.
before
so
that.
you would
That's what I
put
was
it
suggesting.
before the turn.
Correct.
All
You
right.
would
All right.
stop.
Okay.
Excellent. So be up here.
So, are we comfortable with the stop sign or thinking the stop sign's gonna cause more chaos and congestion? What's the thoughts? Here's what I know people do.
I
They'll
was
just
gonna
drive
say-
right through the parking lot.
Well, and I was gonna say, or they're just gonna ignore the stop sign, because I think about the Kroger stop sign for the crosswalk there, for the grocery pickup. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, consistently cars just ignore it and drive past it. And it's more of, if you're not paying attention, then, and you hit somebody, there was a stop sign there, you can't say that you didn't have adequate signage to tell you not to drive through there, but it's more of a after the effect kind of situation. It's probably not going to, it might reduce it somewhat, but I don't think it's gonna be as big a benefit as we might think.
Well, and that's one of my concerns is the responsibility we have to make sure that anyone crossing that area is safe. We're driving in and out of the area is safe.
Which
And
would put
I
the
know,
crosswalk
I
in.
know that the applicants don't want anyone to get hurt.
No,
But
absolutely.
we live here, we use this, parking lot all the time. And we know how we drive. So, and it's kind of crazy sometimes how people drive. Myself, I mean, I just know how you do in parking lots, especially when they're big like that.
So are you saying you would rather have the stop sign just to err on the side of safety? Or what are you saying?
I'm saying I don't like any of it. I just don't think there's a good solution at this point right now. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know that I like the stop sign at the end of the day. I think the pedestrian crossing marker is probably adequate from my perspective at least.
Understood.
Obviously, the rest of the members here.
Stop, it feels awkward to me, like we're putting the stop signs in the places we're talking about, just.
How would you feel about reflectors where it's at?
Reflectors like,
On the crosswalk?
On the crosswalk, so it's
Just some
apparent
grade level.
at night?
Yeah.
We
That
have,
would be
we
good.
have to have pedestrian crossing signs.
Which,
Oh, yeah.
So-
yeah, we'll agree to that.
they're doing that already.
Yes,
Yeah,
they're doing that.
So,
And it's actually in the parking lot side, so if people try to go around, they're gonna find a nice metal pole in front of their car.
Hey, Jack.
Yeah.
On this sheet here that you provided us, number 18, there's a box up top that says loading zone. Is that meant for the supplier trucks?
Yes.
So they're gonna be carting stuff on a dolly across the crosswalk?
That's why I believe the applicant, and correct me if I'm wrong, the applicant had said that was gonna be, there was space dedicated to allow you to park your trucks and do that process, correct? And that way it wouldn't block the actual facility.
is the plans for the appearance, is that a second hearing or is that tonight? Would that all be inclusive here?
It's BZA.
The exterior finishes?
So we don't have a commercial appearance code or anything like that.
So whatever they suggest is approved tonight. Whatever they,
Should you approve it, I mean, we have no mandate that it has to be one of 7 colors. We don't have that. I mean, there's a gray area that was like, this is an insane color. The planning commission has the ability to say, I don't think neon purple is appropriate. But in terms of, saying, I don't like that brown, it should be a lighter shade. that gets a little hairy.
Okay.
So realistically, that's not part of the decision anyway, because we don't have a codified process for
Yeah,
that.
more or less. Like I said, if it was something completely outrageous or
Mhm.
horrible,
Yeah.
you could say, I don't think this color is appropriate, but to debate the shade of brown is probably going a little bit far the other way, too far the other way.
Does the 15-foot height that he talked about, does that meet our standards?
We don't have a height on lights in the
Yeah,
parking
there's
lot.
no minimum height.
Okay, so do we want reflectors? Is that an issue or
I would like the opinion of the rest of the,
any reflectors on to be required in the crosswalk area? It's only gonna be noticeable during night, but still, it doesn't hurt to have it there. When you're leaving
is
early.
the morning time from that
That's true.
5:30 to 7:30 is where I'm really concerned about them. Employees walking in and out, somebody loading, potentially, if somebody comes through there at 2:30 in the morning and somebody's leaving Ziggy's with a few extra in them. I mean, I'm just trying to think ahead here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see from perspective, I don't see an issue putting those in as a safety precaution. It's not like it's gonna reduce traffic speed or cause any kind of chaos there either.
Just bring
Yeah.
awareness.
For awareness, and that would be an addition that I think would be reasonable.
And that would have to be added in, if we did a motion tonight, right? We'd have to put the reflectors to be added? Or is
Yeah,
that something that staff can take care of in the,
It would be very specific to make sure that when if we say we want reflectors,
does
that
that
we
mean?
know what you're looking for.
ground reflectors?
Grade level
Grade
reflector.
level, yeah.
Could I add something to that? Could I suggest, if it was me, instead of the plastic reflectors, I would say, we would use the paint with the glass beads already in it, so that when they paint it, the paint is reflective. Instead of just the little plastic reflectors, because those can get knocked out and get lost. If you they make the paint specifically for these uses that has glass beads all infused in it, so the whole thing reflects as part of the paint. I'd ask for that if you guys would think about it. I think that's safer than the reflectors that could get knocked out and lost.
However, when it snows, you're not gonna see anything on the ground.
Yeah, but that's not
That's-
gonna be-
Is there like
there's
a,
no way to solve that.
I know there's different grades of that type of paint there. Is there something we can
I would
be
just,
specific on it?
I would just say
Okay.
glass bead.
Glass bead.
Glass
Reflective
bead
paint.
traffic marking to
Okay.
reflector.
Reflective
reflector
paint.
eyes. Yeah.
All right.
I
But
would
if
know
we
what you
want
mean.
it for sunny days, what do we want for snowy days? I mean, really? How is that
Let's-
helpful when it's snowing?
It's just,
It's
do we want the
ridiculous.
reflector or not want the reflector?
I think we want the reflective beaded paint.
So we'll put it in
Of
there.
course, at a minimum.
And then it's maintained. If
And
it
that's
fades, if it's damaged from snow plows from the facility there, that
I don't know how you actually do that though. I think you can do the initial, I don't know, I think staff, I guess it's a question for y'all. Is there any kind of like, because we can obviously say we want the reflective paint, but as far as the longevity of that paint, that's kind of up to the
Are you
private.
gonna be able to go there and tell them, hey, you gotta repaint that every year?
We've done that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Code
So that's something that can be
requires
done.
that striping has to be maintained, so if it gets to a condition where it's no longer acceptable, we can go ahead and go through the code enforcement process to get that paint.
Okay, good.
Okay, with that being said, anything else that we need to deliberate with, or are we ready to make a motion?
Obviously dependent upon the variance being approved as well, that they have currently, right? Because they currently have variances waiting for the 12th.
Yes, the width of the building and for the signs.
Yeah. So if we were going to approve this, we would make sure to include that the variances are approved as well.
Okay, so are we ready? Is someone,
Y'all make a motion. I'll move to approve Transportation Corridor Overlay District Application TC 0D-24-001 pursuant to section 1259.07 of the Pataskala Code, with the two listed modifications and an additional third modification for a glass bead reflective, high quality paint on the crosswalk.
Have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Thank you, Alex. Discussion? Roll?
Mr. Smiley.
Yes.
Mr. Berman.
Yes.
Mr. Truax.
Yes.
Mr. Bush.
Yes.
Ms. Rogers.
Yes.
Okay. Motion pass. And that will be at the B's, or that will be at the, on what date, Jeff? The 12th. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you.
We appreciate, we love having the businesses come. We just want to make sure that everything's clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Find my sheets real quick. I'll get myself on.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys very much. Good luck.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the docket is new business, and we have no new business, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Other business, we have Miranda Homes, Heritage Town Center Townhome Concept Plan.
So it's Miranda Homes. I will say I did put this in here. This is the location that they're looking at here. So on 310, you got Heritage Town Center here. Outline right here. So if you want to take this,
Yeah.
you can just use the right keys. But if I put your PDF in there.
It's a little fragmented a lot, right?
Appreciate that.
My name's Stephen Hicks, Miranda Homes, 5900 Wilcox Place in Dublin. Appreciate your time this evening and working with staff. Miranda Homes is very excited about this opportunity here. Miranda Homes is a family-owned production home builder. Been around since 1972. We've got multiple communities in the city of Pataskala already. And we're interested in continuing our partnership with the city of Pataskala and trying to fit sort of an infill site that's, a little bit challenging. And so we wanted to get out in front of some issues, get a concept plan in front of you to show you, our ideas and what we think would be an appropriate use for this location, and try to gather that feedback and then decide, what the best steps would be going forward. The site is, I think, approximately 4.6 acres. The plan we're showing has 44 units of a two-story townhouse product called our St. Leo product. Those units are combined in buildings of 4 units each. The St. Leo is a 2-car attached garage, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom. It can vary in square footage and price point depending on options and finishes that the buyers choose. So this would be a for sale product. We're abutting the for rent single story apartments to the south. Across the street is the Redwood project that's been there for a while, and then single family to the north and to the west. So we have shared the site plan with the West Licking Fire District because we know that's a potential design problem we're going to have to work through. They've given us some comments back that the site will require 2 separate entrances. They will not allow us to only have one entrance. The site is currently set up with an access that's a private access from the retail to the south. And because it's sort of landlocked in there on the back, there really isn't any opportunity for a secondary access on the western property line or really anywhere along the northern property line. So at this point, we're considering some different layout options. You've got that site plan in front of you, perhaps with an emergency only access onto State Route 310 right there along with our private access from the retail. And then we are also working on trying to address whether that road would be private or public. Right now, we've proposed a private road, but we do not do condos anymore. We would sell these as fee simple homes, so everyone would have their own lot, and it would be a 0 lot line. So trying to work through that with different county regulations on subdivision. Pataskala has home rule authority. It may need to be a public street. So we're just trying to understand what direction to go on that. It's more of a, that doesn't affect so much the look and feel of the community. They would both be built to, high standards, whether it's a private or a public road. Our preference would be that it would just be a public road. We would build it to that public road standard and then turn it over to the city, just because it would be a small homeowners association here. But if it needs to be a private road, as long as the county would allow us to do fee simple lots on that, we would be fine with that too, just to set it up properly. So, other than that, we just wanted to come in and see what your guys' thoughts were about the location. That retail center there, and I've been from the area, I grew up out from this way my whole life. I know that retail center's kind of been a struggle and a little bit of challenge. It has filled in, which is good. And this site, I think there used to be a house on this site with some barns in the back. There was plans previously for a brewery here that didn't work out. And so it's just kind of been sitting there. And, with the housing market the way it is, we would like to be able to provide a product that is accessible for first-time home buyers. Unfortunately, detached single-family homes, the price of them, we're all seeing this, as really skyrocketed. And it's really difficult for people, young people especially, to stay in their community, or folks that are just looking to downsize that have lived in Pataskala for many years and just don't want to take care of a large house and a yard anymore. So this is a great opportunity in the market that we think would fit in really well. And I'd be happy to answer any of your guys' questions.
Thank you. Alex, start with you.
How many total units would be in this particular
The current proposal is for 44 townhouse units.
44 townhouse units? Okay. And what's the, I guess, kind of the expected, obviously very loosely stated here, expected price range and size of the homes in question?
Yeah, so the St. Leo can get optioned up and down. I think that in the packet, I don't know if we've provided the sheet, where the smallest St. Leo is 1,836 square feet. It can get optioned up with like a sunroom on the back up to 2,693 square feet. So the price is going to vary pretty significantly. If they were on the market today, they would probably be marketed and advertised starting around 275 and going up from there. Most of the closings are probably over 300,000 by a margin, which is hard to consider that's first-time home buyer price range at this point, but that's just the cost to on materials and labor right now to be able to build these. That's where you end up.
Obviously, I notice in here that there's not a lot of green space in this building area. Obviously, do you know what the kind of concept percentage volume of green space left after the construction is right now?
Yeah, we don't have, I don't think, any calculation on what the green space would be as presented. It's a small site. So in order to be able to fit, the buildings on each side of a road, kind of double load the road like that. And we're trying to shift everything to the south as much as possible with the single family abutting up to the north. There's not a a whole lot of space for additional green space. There is some, to the south of there with the shopping center and all that. I understand it was all approved as a PUD, but we're not accounting for a whole lot of green space because it's only a 4.6 acre site, I guess would be my point.
Okay, and as far as like stormwater requirements, I guess that may be more for staff actually. If this was approved, would this work with, like, as far as our stormwater requirements, retention ponds, anything like that, and how would that play out for this?
That would have to go to the public service department, but
Okay,
We've looked into it, just so you
Okay.
know. We're considering different options on stormwater. We were hopeful when we drafted this concept plan and then submitted it that stormwater was going to the south through the apartments there and that we would be able to enlarge, because it's recently been built and meet modern regulations. Unfortunately, stormwater goes to the north. It goes through that single family subdivision to outlet to the creek up there. So we would have to retain stormwater on site, either with a surface pond of some sort, which then obviously changes the site plan a little bit,
yeah.
or considering underground detention, storm tech chambers, which are very common, as you get more and more urban areas and people trying to do infill sites. Is a little bit more expensive, but it just depends on where we think that price point is essentially 4 more units worth it to be able to do chambers, or do you go the other direction? So that is one thing that we're working out right now.
Okay. That's all my questions.
Ann?
Well, obviously, looking at the parking situation. So the driveways would have room for 2 cars. And then you have the garage.
Yes.
So you would be able to fit
Theoretically, 2 more. Yeah.
2, but no street parking.
We have some auxiliary parking in the front where that mail kiosk would be as you come in. But then we would most likely not permit on-street parking through there. It depends on what the road widths end up being. If they're a little bit more narrow, then we would have no on-street parking and would rather have auxiliary parking or overflow parking. But if it's built to a public road standard, then we would find that appropriate public road. Perhaps it'd be one side only for on-street parking.
And what about like school buses? I guess they would have to accommodate the same distance. Like where would they turn around?
School bus we do have a turnaround in the back of the community, which would accommodate a school bus or fire truck, large apparatus. I'm not sure if the school bus would go all the way back into the community. We were proposing a sidewalk connection all the way towards that retail center. So I'm not sure if the school bus, they may be out on Hazelton Etna Road or 310 out there. We would have to discuss that with the school district of where exactly they would want that to be accommodated.
Well, that would be one concern. And then obviously density. So that's my concern.
Yeah, just kind of echoing what Ann was saying about, if you're having a school bus and large trucks, fire departments, Amazon deliveries, all those things going to be backing up there. That's one of the few spaces where kids could play, and I wouldn't
Kids won't
mind.
be playing, they'll be.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just backing up all the time, you're not gonna have good visibility, there. So trying to do some kind of a loop or something like that we can get those cars through there that are not having to back up would be help alleviate that safety concern there. The 2 entrances is obviously going to be a challenge there. You mentioned that. There's a lot of houses. I mean, you mentioned this is just under 5 acres. There's a lot of, 44 units on 5 acres. It's it's a lot for Pataskala. Maybe not for other communities, but for us, that's cramming a lot in there. It does seem like there's a good bit of landscaping, especially on the edge and the trees. So I appreciate that. I would like to see more green space on there. Has some concerns with the stormwater as well. So I think I'm suspecting it's going to be hard to get this density and keep it that high with some of these other requirements there, with adding more green space and things like that. But that's just some of the things I'd be looking at in particular. But I do like the idea, the idea of the infill, the multi-use path here, again, I'd love to see a sidewalk going all the way down there, if it connects to something. So, but.
Along 310
Yeah.
or, yeah, we are proposing a sidewalk to the limits of the property. There's obviously some missing gaps there along the right of way.
If I could jump in,
Yeah.
years ago, when Heritage Town Center, they came in and amended the development text and the plan, we had a requirement that till such time so once this property develops, they have a tiny asphalt path in front of that. They would then be required to upgrade that to the full 8 feet wide. So if this path goes in, then they're required to complete that path along their frontage per the conditions of that approval.
Okay, good.
Now, if we could just finish it through the rest of the housing development and have it to Pataskala, it'd be wonderful.
And this is what water service?
City. It's city utilities.
So will this
It's
fit under our,
Southwest thinking.
Oh, yeah, our last conversation.
So right now, we're at 65 units. Seeing how scooters goes, that could take, talking to the utility department, they estimated it, that counts for about 5.
Yep.
So that brings it down to 60. Theoretically, it is within that threshold. It just comes down to timing in terms of who gets
who
there.
gets first?
Which is why we're here tonight.
Yeah, I understand. Tim, any questions?
Trash service through normal, or are you actually putting dumpsters in here? What's the plan there?
It should be just like single family homes in regards to trash with totes. I'm not sure exactly actually how that's done in the city of Pataskala.
But where would you
You
put
use
it?
Rumpke. It would be individual tip carts. You'd keep them in your garage and roll them out to the curb at the end,
Oh, okay.
end of your
Yeah.
driveway. Yeah.
And since there's no on-street parking,
Mhm.
they
Yeah, just like the school bus, I was just, I guess, put some thought there with the trash trucks roaming I don't know how narrow these roads are gonna be. What's your timeline? If it was approved, what would you like to see?
If it was approved, we'd have to go through final engineering and work with the city on, some of these details, but that would be, 4 to 6 month process. So theoretically, we could have developed lots next fall and be for sale, have a model. We would do a full model out of this location and be selling next fall.
All right. I would just say that, space is tight on the sewer right now for a couple of years, so.
Right. And that's part of what, we wanted to come in and ask. We knew, Southwest Licking's got utility issues. Like there's lots of communities that have challenges. So we're very aware of that here. And we've actually run into that problem on one of our other communities with Southwest Licking. But it's a small site and it's something that I don't know if would be our number one priority in most situations, but the housing market is in a pretty challenging place right now in Columbus area, right? Just people trying to find housing. And so a small project like this, we feel, fits in well with the community and provides a product, for, your kids or your grandparents or whatever, in order to find, something that's relatively affordable in the current marketplace, but is new and, comes with a warranty and high quality. So we're excited to be here. We think that this is a product that would do really well. And, I think just trying to identify, the different issues that might happen. I'm sure we had any more questions.
I have a couple. You may check and see how the buses work for the condos behind the center, because that might help you to be able to answer a little bit better when you come back, how the busing route would work.
Right.
I don't know if they all pick up in front of each one of those condos or if they pick up in a section area.
I would guess not. I think a lot of times in some of these smaller communities, they just drop them off. I'm over in like Granville Township and they're all detached single family and they still just drop off
Drop
at the
them
front
off. So it's
entrance
something
and
just to check with the school district.
let them
just to-
hike a little bit.
It will help us to understand if the school bus is going to drive back in there or not.
Yep.
The other thing, again, I'm going to kind of echo what everybody else says with density and no turnaround. you may look at eliminating 1 or 11 and making that a turnaround so that, and that might lower some of the density too for you and give you room to make us a little bit more comfortable that there is a way for trash trucks to get through there and not be, messing with all the residents' property, because
Right.
it is tight. That would be my biggest concerns, the tightness.
I mean, anybody that's gonna have company, they're gonna have to park in the street.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any additional way. I mean, male, you have 2, 4, 2 or 4. What am I looking at here?
It's kind of
Places
something
to
similar
park
to
it.
what's on, oh my goodness, in the city where Key is, all those condos right there along, I'm trying to think of that road now. I can't think of the road.
Well, I mean, it's not that much different than the single-story apartments to the south of us or Redwood. I don't know what that one's called, but Redwood across the street, where every unit's attached there. You got a 2-car garage, 2-car driveway.
Did I
and then-
vote for that?
They got a little bit more green space over there, though. I think.
It was a little bit larger site.
There's a little
too,
bit
so
more
it makes-
frontage and green
Yeah.
space there, yes.
I think that was a no from me, so that's not gonna be. Fair,
So
fair.
yeah, I mean, that's
Should be.
kind of anybody else have anything else to add there?
We do want to make sure we have plenty of landscaping though and create a nice buffer. That was something that we, asked the designer to make sure he's included in this and that we're willing to commit to, make sure that it's a nice landscape community. That helps our price, it helps us sell units, makes people feel comfortable that they're gonna have privacy in their rear yard and everything as well. So, yeah.
Just remember the keywords, density and green space, and when you
Yeah.
come back, just make sure you're taking that in consideration.
And going next steps, we'd work with staff, but we weren't, because it's already in like a commercial PUD and it's sort of a down zoning in regards to intensity. We weren't sure what the exact next steps would be. We would work with a zoning attorney on that, but it may be like adding it or amending that PUD in order to add this as an allowable use. And then this would be essentially a planned site plans, planned development. So, where we commit to putting a tree, we got to put a tree, right? So, all those little details could get worked out. So.
One other question, you had touched on this earlier, and I'm not sure if you answered it. You said they wanted a second entrance into the, where did you propose that was going to happen, or what were your vision there?
Well, I think if you look at the plan, I think building number 6 it either gets reoriented somehow, or instead of 4-unit buildings, we might do 5-unit buildings, which then makes the stacking, how they kind of lay out a little bit easier, and then utilize that private drive to the south that this is what it was intended for, and then create like an emergency only access, perhaps coming off where that parking area is for the mail right there,
Yeah.
in order to get out onto Hazelton Etna Road. We will formally ask staff at some point here if we did like a public road, if that went straight and we got a full curb cut at Hazelton Etna Road, but I think that there was some concern about a full curb cut there for the brewery or whatever the previous use was. So we're trying to be aware of that, but at the same time, fire department, they're going to require 2, period. So I'm not sure, what's really better. It's not like, the townhouses aren't a big traffic driver. It's, going to be a less intense traffic use than what the current PUD plan is, I would say. So maybe it's better maybe that's acceptable if that's a full curb cut for a public road subbing into this community. But that's probably the biggest issue that we need to get resolved here. So we're working through this.
The main road going down through there, is that just a service to or would it fall under the jurisdiction of police? Or just thinking in the future, if somebody's zooming down through there, could they be ticketed? Would that fall under the police jurisdiction, or?
It comes down to public or private road.
If it is private, you could always just cite them for reckless op.
Yeah, just tight community. Hopefully you have kids out there, they're not playing on their phones or outside playing. don't want them to get hit. I'm good.
Any other questions? Well, I appreciate you guys' time this evening, and we'll take everything under advisement. I didn't even do the slideshow, but you guys have your own packets. So
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah, no worries.
Inside, they look very nice. Okay, moving on to 7, excuse of absence for Ann Rogers for October 24th, 2024, and Alexander Smiley for October 24th. I'll make a motion that we excuse both of their absences.
We got to do. it.
Oh, one at a time, I'm sorry. I'll make a motion that we excuse Ann.
Second?
Thank you.
Discussion? Roll?
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Ms. Rogers?
Abstain?
Mr. Truax?
Yes.
Mr. Smiley?
Yes.
Mr. Burry?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. I will also make a motion for Alexander Smiley.
Second?
Discussion? Roll?
Mr. Burry?
Yes.
Mr. Smiley?
Abstain.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Truax?
Yes. Okay, moving on to number 8, approval of the meeting minutes for October 2nd, 2024, regular meetings. Everybody have a chance to review those? Any issues? Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the meeting for October 2nd, 2024, regular meeting.
Second?
Roll?
Mr. Truax?
Yes.
Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mr. Smiley?
Yes.
Mr. Burry?
Yes.
All right, number 9. Anybody want
Make a motion to adjourn to Wednesday, December 4th, 2024.
Gladly
Hold on.
second that.
to? And Tim, seconded. Roll?
Mr. Truax?
Yes.
Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mr. Smiley?
Yes.
Mr. Burry?
Yes.
Okay, and with that, we are adjourned till December 4th, Wednesday.
Hard to believe it's gonna.